So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalja, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Alison Keogh, head of marketing of Marker Video. Welcome, Alison. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you for having me.
Awesome, and I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience.
Hopefully.
Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Marker Video does?
Yes, of course. So, Marker Video is a video marketplace. So, essentially, everyday people, everyday customers can seamlessly upload video reviews, video content about brands and products that they love. Those videos go through our tech. We make sure that they're good quality, that they mention brand, that the person is real. And if the videos are good enough, they're published on our marketplace, and then the brands featured can buy the videos. So when the brand buys the video, they buy the full usage rights and licensing, and then they can use it for their marketing. So their paid social, their organic socials, their websites, their email marketing, however they like. Once they buy that video, the customer, the person who created the video, gets paid 50% of the sale. So on average, $50 to $100 per video. So that's kind of the basics of it. It's quite a
Yeah,
simple model.
right. And that's really fascinating. But what inspired you to join basically to Marker Video? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Yeah, so I actually met Greta, who founded the company back in 2012. So we worked together. It was my first job out of college. Ireland was where we're based in Ireland, obviously. Ireland was going through a bit of an economic recession at the time. It was not a great time to be a graduate. So I ended up getting a job in online magazines in Dublin as an intern, and I kind of worked my way up. And Greta was actually the founder of those magazines as well. So they were really big at the time. We had kind of like 4 million readers a month. One was for college students, one was for teenagers. So we worked together then, and the magazines were then sold in 2016, and we kind of went our separate ways. I went into more kind of generalized marketing, digital marketing. I've worked in like for hospitality brands in house. I've worked for agencies. I moved to the UK, so I worked in different industries there as well. And then we kind of came back together in 2022, because Greta had started a new company called Marker Content at the time, which was a blog marketplace. So very similar model to like a Shutterstock,
Yeah.
where real writers uploaded like blogs and articles about anything. So it could be like coffee beans or traveling Peru or whatever it might be. So they uploaded those, and then we sold them to, it could be like small businesses, whoever needed kind of written content and didn't have the capacity to do it themselves. So that's when we kind of started working together again. That was in 2022. And Marker Content did really, really well. We had, in 18 months, we got about 100,000 contributing writers. We had 200,000 odd articles. And then ChatGPT came along, and that was kind of a bit of something to really overcome, I guess. So Greta decided to pivot the business, which was the smart thing to do, because we had customers, and it was working
Yeah.
quite well as a business. But in terms of really scaling it and getting investment, it was just, the feedback was, ChatGPT is not amazing, but it's good enough in terms of like giving us the basic content that we need. So then the idea for Market Video was born in 2024. And we launched it around last summer, and that's kind of where we are now. That's the basics of the story, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. But for example, like if you're looking back in those early days, what do you wish you've done differently?
In terms of Market Video,
In
what do
terms
you
of your career when you joined to the marker video.
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think it sounds a bit cliche, but I do think that everything kind of happens for a reason, and that we learned a lot of really good lessons. I think Marker Content was a great learning for us in terms of what works, like what doesn't work, how to get customers, how to effectively scale a business in a very lean way. And there's only two of us in the business, and we have big plans now, but we're
Mhm.
very, I think we're quite clever in terms of how we like spend our money, how we grow. We're not ostentatious. We don't have a huge team because we don't need that yet. That's kind of further down the
Yeah.
line. Um, so to answer your question, I don't really know what we would do differently. I mean, maybe I was going to say maybe we should have pivoted earlier, but actually I don't know, because I think we probably pivoted at the
Yeah.
right time. We got that business as far as we could until, AI just sort of exploded. I don't think anyone kind of expected it to happen as fast as it did in terms of the whole AI bubble.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know if
that's
that answers
fair.
your question.
Yeah, yeah. And also to circle back to what you mentioned like earlier, can you like walk us through the pivotal moment and the vision that led to the creation of marker video with the ChatGPT?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So as I said, obviously the market was changing. Greta was speaking to investors, and a lot of people had the same sort of thoughts and fears and concerns about AI. So then she was doing a lot. Actually, I think the whole kernel of the idea came from, she was served an ad on Instagram, and it was somebody recommending a shampoo, and it was or something like that, and it was a really kind of straightforward UGC ad. This girl talking about how she loves this Korean shampoo, and Greta came in the next day and kind of, she sort of put out the idea of, would this be a good way to pivot? Like, there isn't really anything that exists where somebody can just come along and like off the shelf buy these types of
Yeah.
videos. And then we sort of got talking about it, and I realized that yes, more and more I was being served those kind of ads. I was engaging with that kind of content a lot more. I've worked in like with influencers and things like that in past lives, and I just think that sort of content was, the effects of it were waning a little bit. I think people were kind of seeing through influencers to some degree. I think COVID, to be honest, really changed people's appetite for things like that. I think,
Yeah.
and there's a cost of living crisis and everything that's going on in the world. I think really like over the top content and gifting and PR culture and all of that maybe doesn't have the same effects that it once did. So we started talking about it, and then we basically spent a few months talking to as many people as we could. So like anybody in marketing that we had previously had connections with, anybody in small businesses, bigger businesses. Greta went to New York and spoke to somebody in Estee Lauder, and all of that and feedback and all of those conversations really like reinforce the idea that this is a huge gap in the market. Like, the people in Estee Lauder were saying that they need hundreds of these types of videos a month, and their big issue is just actually getting it. It's so time consuming, and having worked like to some degree as a social media manager in an agency, I can tell you as well, it is an endless job. Like, just like trying to find the content, or dealing with content creators, and invoicing and licensing
Yeah.
rights, and there's just so much. So that was kind of where the kernel of the idea came from, and then all of those months of research really solidified the need for it, but also, I guess, shaped what the platform would look like, how it would work. So basically just taking all of that research of all those people that we spoke to kind of went into how the platform worked, basically.
Right, makes sense, makes sense. And you all like mentioned that the need for the video content, especially like for example with the UGC, is a major pain point for brands due to the
Yeah.
time and budget constraints. So my question is, what is the most significant struggle brands face when trying to scale authentic video content today?
I think it depends on the brand. So if it's somebody like Estee Lauder, obviously budgets might not be as much. I mean, everyone has budgets, of course, but they can afford to spend a bit more. For them, I think it's like I said, with them it's scale. So actually getting enough content. They can only send out so many products to influencers. They can only repost, a certain amount of tagged videos. They can only brief out to their agencies a certain amount of videos. I think it's scale. I think a big thing is time. Like, so people that we spoke to in much smaller businesses, which was really useful as well, their big thing was, resource and time. They might only have 5 people on the team, 2 people in the marketing team, and they just don't have the capacity or the budget or the time to spend, 20 hours a week getting this kind of content made.
Right.
So I would say time, resource, scale, and then all of the legalities of it. So licensing agreements, content usage agreements. A lot of the time, if people work with content creators, even if they have like a small following, they might only have the usage rights to use that content for 30 to 60 days. So that's a big thing. So that a lot of it is basically just these brands just don't have the time and everything else, and they just want the content. They want to buy it once, they want to like leave it on a folder and then just reuse it, chop it up, put new music to it, sponsor it. So I would say that they're the kind of key pain points, really.
Okay, okay, makes sense. And on the other hand, like, what are the biggest challenges you face in maintaining the human first and authenticity on a large scale platform, especially with the proliferation of AI generated content? And a quick note here, even I saw like recently, even the enterprise level company like adopted a little bit of AI generated content in their ads.
Yeah, yeah, it is a big thing. Obviously, it's a huge talking point at the moment. So we're currently in a phase where we're fundraising and want to develop out our tech. And part of that tech that we are developing is human detection, should I say? So making sure that anybody who
Yeah.
comes onto the platform is a human. So when somebody signs up at the moment, they have to go through KYC, which is know your customer. And that takes place through Stripe Connect, so that every single person who signs up to the platform is checked. So you know everybody is a human. In terms of the content, then that also goes through our tech to verify that they are a real person. What we can guarantee is that they have used the product. So they have to show the product. They have to talk about the brand. Like I said, then there's all the quality element of it
Yeah.
as well. It's a huge thing. And obviously, actually this morning, I don't know if you saw, but do you remember Vine, the video social platform? They're bringing it back and they're banning AI content from the entire platform, which I think is so interesting. And
Yeah.
it's obviously great for us because it's a real sign of where like user appetites are at the moment. So yeah, so that would be the kind of the big thing for us, is really guaranteeing that none of the videos and none of the users are artificial intelligence,
Interesting.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And you like mentioned earlier that you've like seen significant growth, but you are operating with a small and lean team. And
Yes.
what is the biggest operational bottleneck that you are currently faced in managing over 10,000 video contributors and working with major brands like Unilever and like HelloFresh?
Yeah. I mean, because we're a team of two, we both do a bit of everything really, but which is amazing because we learn, and again, this sounds quite cliche, but it is true. We learn something new. No 2 days are the same. You know, one day we could be designing a deck for an investor. The next day we could be tweaking a website. The next day we're working on our app. Like every day is a little bit different, and we've learned so much because we're just about to release our app, so we've been working really closely with developers, and that side of it's super interesting. In terms of the biggest challenges, I guess it just is that there's just two of us and there aren't enough hours in the day, and you know, whilst we all have strengths and weaknesses, so there's obviously some things that it would be great to have somebody else to come in and you know have their
Yeah.
special skills to enhance things. So I think over the last 18 months of marker video being live, we've really kind of discovered perhaps where things could be improved and where it would be great to have somebody who's an expert in specific things come in and fill the gap. Like we'd
100%.
love to have a sales team, for example, because you know it's just tough to try and spend enough time on it, but it's obviously a huge part of the business. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that we would like, and lots of things that hopefully the next round of funding will go into, which we're excited
Right.
about.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And now, like walking us through how marker video addresses these challenges in the market, what makes your approach unique?
There isn't actually a business really like ours, which is great. And obviously, when we were designing the platform, we spent so much time, and like I said, talking to everybody, but also researching UGC style platforms. We don't really say we're a UGC platform because we're more of a customer generated content platform. So, um, like I said, we looked at a lot of these different platforms and how they work, and most of the UGC platforms are kind of agency style. So a brand will come along, say it's L'Oreal, and they'll say, we need 5 videos about this mascara and how it makes your lashes really thick, whatever it is. And then creators will apply, for that brief, and then they get certain amount of edits of the videos and so on and so forth. So it's a much longer and much more manual process. There doesn't, from what we've seen and all of our research, there isn't anything exactly like market video at the moment, which is very off the shelf and very hands off for brands, which is what they want. So I'll give you an example of how it works with one of our customers, which is
Yeah.
HelloFresh. So we work with HelloFresh Ireland. So they put a QR code on a flyer in all of their orders. So that means that the people who are told about this video incentive are only their customers, people who've actually purchased their product. So anyone who is interested in making a video scans that QR code, comes to our platform, and then they go down like a specific HelloFresh customer journey. So they're onboarded, they're marked as being a HelloFresh customer. We take in certain information about them, from like their dietary preferences to, if they want, they don't have to share all of this information, of course. Um, oh, apologies, lost my earphone. Whether they're married, whether they have kids, all of that kind of
Yeah.
information, which is really interesting for the brand. Upload their video, and then we notify HelloFresh every time there's a new batch of videos there for them to buy. So it's very hands off for them, which is what they need, because they just don't have, everyone has limited time. And it's also great because it actually rewards people who are actively buying into the brand. So it's that's just one example of how it works. Every customer is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Obviously, at the moment, because we are quite new, we're kind of seeing how different customers use the platform. Everyone is a little bit unique in how they want to get their customers onto market video. So again, it's all a really good learning for us in terms of what works, and then how to scale that up with the tech as we move.
Yeah, interesting, unique, like organic growth here. And honestly, your strength it's that you are being like so flexible. So having a small team like let you to have that flexibility to adapt in the market.
Exactly. And I think it's really important at this stage that we're not super rigid, and we say to people,
Yeah,
no, that's not how we work. Like, we need to listen to what customers want as well, and what their customers, how they use their products. Like, where is the best place to get in front of them? Is it the packaging? Is it their purchase emails? Is it their orders? So it's really important, I think, that we at this stage really work closely with customers and give them that kind of more
yeah,
like white glove service as it is.
100%. Yeah, right. And you mentioned like last time that you spoke developing tech like a ring fence your platform against AI videos. So
Yeah.
can you share more about the importance of this technology and how it supports your mission to be a human first platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important because obviously there's just so much, as it's called, AI slop out there at the moment. What we obviously don't want is for somebody to generate 10 videos about L'Oreal, and for it to not be a real person, for them not to have really bought the product, for it to just be kind of lowbrow content. So that is super, super important. That is our USP, and that is kind of really what we want to focus the next stage of the business on, is making sure that it's like watertight. And, as I've said, everybody who does come on is checked and identified, and make sure that they're a real person. So that it's a vital part of our business, I think, for sure.
Right. And I find that innovative solutions like face the initial skepticism in the market. So when you talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
That's a great question. We've gone to a lot of conferences recently, and that's been really interesting, because people will kind of see our branding, and it's interesting to see what their initial idea is. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people think it is that sort of UGC atypical model, like I said, where they will put up a brief, and creators apply to create videos, and then the videos are edited by the brands, etc. Another big misconception, and again, this is probably just because these are the models that already exist, is that brands will say to us, okay, great, so if we want some videos, do we send out users free products? And we say absolutely not. That is not what we do. We think that you should actually be rewarding people who are already buying your products. And so then we obviously explain the whole process to them. And once we kind of explain that it's literally as simple as putting the QR code and a line of text about what it is into their booking emails, onto their website, on their socials, people really buy into it and they're like, that sounds really simple. And it's kind of a win-win for brands because there's no pressure to buy. They can see all of the videos on the platform, obviously watermarked, but they can see
Right.
them in full before they buy them. So it's quite low risk. And, we say it's sometimes a longer partnership. So we'll say, put in the QR codes. It might take a few weeks for it to build momentum and we'll just notify you every time there's a fresh batch of videos there. So luckily, once people understand what the business is, they're really receptive to it, which is great. So hopefully we're doing something right.
Amazing. And also, like, could you share a specific success story of a client? And I'm curious, what did that teach you about what really drive results in your space?
Yeah. So our first big client, which was amazing, was actually Unilever in the US. So we worked with them on a campaign. It was around this time last year. So it was Dove and Vaseline, and basically they wanted to reach students in the US West Coast, so kind of California area. They wanted to make them aware of two key products. One was a lip balm, and one was like a Dove face cream. So basically, we went into US colleges with brand ambassadors, and they provided some products, and the brand ambassadors engaged with their students, told them about the products, and if the students were interested, they took the product, went away, made a video, and obviously uploaded the videos. So I can't remember exactly how many videos it was now, but we basically got them the surplus of videos, which they were delighted about. Those videos were then used for their advertising, particularly to students, particularly in that geography. And it was great. And in terms of what we learned, I suppose we learned a lot about messaging. So working with these brand ambassadors on the ground, it was really interesting. They kind of initially went in with, messaging about what we were and how it benefited
Right.
them. And that was then quickly readjusted to be like snappier, obviously with students, their attention spans are different to somebody who's a bit older like us. So, it was just about readjusting that messaging, making the proposition really clear and making sure that people didn't feel like they had to be social media creators or that they had to have, 10,000 followers to partake in this. But, so it was just making sure that that messaging was really clear and that they really understood it. So we learned a lot from that. We built up a great partnership and working relationship with Unilever, which is amazing. We got them the videos, and we also got loads of creators, which was great. So it was a really useful learning for us, definitely.
Yeah, great ecosystem, honestly, here. And now, looking at the broader industry, how does like success look like for marker video in the next 6 to 12 months, especially that you are planning for a major launch like across colleges in the US and the seed funding round to invest in the tech and sales?
Yeah, so we're hoping it's going to be a big kind of year for us in 2026. So like I said, we're just about to launch our app. So the first stage of that, obviously we're a two-sided marketplace. We have our creators slash reviewers, and then we have our brands. So with our creators, we were really looking at how they use the platform. We launched with an MVP. It wasn't like super sophisticated, but it got the job done. So we sort of really listened to them, asked them what they wanted. So that's what we developed out the app. We've made the whole process of uploading videos really simple for them, quite gamified, really, really easy. So we want to launch that out. We obviously want to do a big launch across colleges, like you said specifically.
Yeah.
Gen Zs will be our biggest demographic. We haven't specifically set out to market to that demographic, but naturally it just comes with them being socially native and comfortable in front of the camera. So that would be one part of it. The second part is obviously really developing out the platform for brands. So again, looking at all of our experiences of how we've been working with brands to date, the features that they'd like to see, building in a credit system for videos so they can pre-buy videos. So we've built in a subscription model for brands, which is really great. So they pay, it's €115 a month, and that gets them data insights on their users. It gets them unique tracked QR codes, and it also gives them money off the video. So like obviously the more they buy, the lower the
Yeah.
cost per video. And then obviously, like I said, really developing out the tech around human detection and data insights, providing the brands with like really clean data. Like data is obviously so important. I saw a stat recently, and I think it said that the average consumer in the US, their data is worth like $700 a year to brands or something.
Okay.
So brands really want this information, and if it's about their customers, then even better, because it takes a weight off them and it's also relevant to their customers. And then obviously we want to grow our team in specific areas, like I said, where we need some further support. And marketing, we obviously want to put a lot into our marketing. We want to get out there. Like in an ideal world, we want to be a brand that's as recognizable as like a TripAdvisor. So you
Yeah.
buy a product or book a service and you see our logo, you know, oh great, I can make a video about this and I can get paid. So that's the big vision. So that's where we want to be.
Yeah, it seems like there are a lot to do on the horizon.
Definitely, but it's all very exciting, and I think the
And
last 18 months has really, taught us about how to get off the ground, and now how to grow it and to make it blossom, hopefully.
100%, that's the point.
Exactly.
But for example, how do you see, like on the other flip, the role of UGC evolving in the marketing over the next years, and particularly as like AI continues to advance?
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, now more than ever, it's more important that people feel like brands are really listening to what they want, that they're representing their real customers, that people can actually connect with brands through seeing other faces who represent the brand. So I mean, like, who knows, to be honest, where AI is going to be in 2, 3 years. It's just moving so rapidly. But I think even like the news with Vine this morning is just a really good indication of where market appetite is at. Like, there's just so much slop, as it's called, AI
Hmm.
slop out there. I think people are a little bit fatigued by it. And also there's just so much content, not all of it
Yeah.
cuts through. So I just think it's very important for brands to really understand what their customers want and what their followers want to see, and all the stats and all of the information points to it being, more raw, more real, more authentic, review style, and real people, like a real plethora of different accents and backgrounds and ethnicities, and like the fabric of society basically. So who buys from brands, like that's what people want to see. They want to see what average brand customers look like, I think.
Yeah, I love that. Like I love that perspective. And like in your opinion, what is like the one piece of advice would you give to small businesses who are struggling to incorporate this authentic video content in their marketing strategy?
Well, without being too cheeky, I would say they should speak to us because we can make it really easy for them. But I would say, like, listen to your customers and talk to your customers. And if you are a small business and you want that content, why not turn to the people who you're talking to every single day, because they're already engaged, they're already tuned in. So maybe you should ask them if they'd be interested in talking about their experiences. It's also um, it's also really valuable perspectives and feedback for you as a brand to hear what your customers really have to say. Um, and also talk to us. Like I said, you should reach out to us. Yeah.
Great advice. And before we wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon. So when you look at Marker Video's journey over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most, and on a personal level as well?
I think, like I said, I mean, we have global ambition, and the interesting thing about our business is that we kind of work across most industries, whether it's beauty or food or hospitality, travel, anything. Really, as long as it's a product or service, we think that we can be there to encourage our customers to talk about you. So we obviously want to grow. We want to have hundreds of thousands of millions of users, and we want to really ring fence our tech, like I said, and make sure that the videos that are being produced on our platform are representative of real society. And I suppose just be like a recognized global brand. And also, it's really important to us that people are actually actively being paid for their content. And I actually don't even think we mentioned that, sorry, at the beginning of the conversation, but that was one of the big things when we
Yeah.
were researching the platform, was so many creators out there, whether they have 500 followers or 50,000 followers, are maybe not being paid and being, rewarded enough for the amazing content that they create. So we think it's such a pity, because like, it doesn't really matter how many followers you have, you still have something to say, and a lot of the time you can create great content. So we just want to make sure that people are being paid properly and rewarded for that, for making that content.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with marker video, what's the best way to get in touch?
So you can just drop us an email, so hello@markervideo.com, or check us out on LinkedIn, we're just Marker Video, or visit markervideo.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, you can find us on socials, and just reach out to us, and we'd love to have a chat about how we could fit into your customer journeys.
Perfect, perfect. So thanks for joining me today, Alison, and for this amazing podcast session. And for anyone listening, make sure to check out the Marker Video socials below in the description, because this episode was packed with value, and I can wait to see what you build next in the next year.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, see you in the next episode.
Bye.